Welcome back. I am Jim. Jack is here.
Yo.
And so is Ross.
Let's talk money.
Yeah, that's right. Good and loud for a man, Scott Brown from Edgewater Family
Oh yeah,
Wealth.
baby. Let's go.
We gotta get you a professional intro.
Yeah.
That's on.
I actually like that one quite a bit, actually.
Highway to Hell works, yeah.
Highway to Hell, and rarely do people applaud me, so I'm totally in favor of that.
There's only a couple times when you're making money, people can't stop applauding, can they?
Well, no, they do. Trust me. They get over it quickly.
Scott is from Edgewater Family Wealth right here in Orlando. Been doing this for 30-plus years as a money manager and a portfolio manager, helping regular people, regular everyday people making regular everyday salaries, pad their futures to make their lives a little easier as they get a little older and move a little forward. Is that an accurate description of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a regular person, I think.
Yeah, you are.
Last I checked.
You're a pretty regular guy?
I'm totally cool with working with regular people, yes. And regular people have irregular money sometimes,
They
so
do.
you never know.
That's right, 100%. So every week, when we go into the segment, we'll send each other a couple texts letting them know, hey, what's going on? What are we talking about today? And today was a bit cryptic for me. I'm going to be honest with you. Today you sent over these things.
The eagles have left the nest.
Crabs in a bucket, who you marry matters, success or returns, what do you want? Let's start with crabs in a bucket. What do you mean when you say crabs in a bucket?
Well, if you've ever, like I grew up in St. Pete on the coast, fishing and hunting around the mangroves as a little punk, and there are always fiddler crabs, and you throw some fiddler. If you have ever seen a bucket of crabs, if one of them tries to climb out, what happens?
The other ones pull them back down.
The other ones grab them and pull them down, right?
Yeah.
So people are like that too. And what I mean by that is they say we're the kind of the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you think about the people you hang out with and kind of some of their attributes, and I think I have picked up that from that person, and I do a little bit of what that other. So the point is, if you want to be successful, and I'm not just talking economics, I'm talking health, I'm talking life, I'm talking however you define outlook, whatever. You want to be careful which crabs you get in the bucket with, right? Because people, on average, do not like when other people around them strive to improve.
That's true.
Think about the number of times you might have said to somebody, hey, I just haven't been feeling great. I'm going to work out more. I'm going to eat a little. Yeah, sure you are, Jim. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I never hear that.
Right. Like, I mean, people don't like when other people try to improve. If you say, hey, somebody says to you, hey, man, let's go out tonight. You're like, you know what? I don't really want to do that. I've spent a lot of money this week. I just want to be chill. I'm trying to save for this thing. And they're like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
really?
It's one night.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's one night. You
Let's
can't have a beer
out.
with me? You can't do this?
You don't like me anymore?
Yeah, right,
well,
exactly.
The answer to that is yes, kind of. I don't like you anymore. So we have to make decisions in our life over time, who we spend time with and most importantly, we have very limited time on this planet, right? And if you want to be successful, you have to decide who you're giving that time to. And if it's not people who are not invested in your success, which people shouldn't necessarily be, but if you have a spouse or a friend or a family member who spends time with you, is encouraging, if you say, I have a dream, I want to do this thing, and it's hard, not many people can do it, and they don't say, well, that's ridiculous, you're never going to be able to do that. Right? That's not the person.
No.
Right? If you can say to somebody, hey, I'm really not happy with my economic station in life. I think I want to make some changes. They go, you know what? Good for you. How can I help you? What should I? Here's something to read. Here's something to think about. Here's a podcast. Right. That's the person that you want to talk to. And before you jump in, let me also say it could be family members. It could be your parents that you have to stop listening to.
I would think that most of the time it's people like that because of the people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, I mean, many of us have friends and acquaintances, people we hang around. It's fine to hang around people who aren't necessarily invested in your dreams and even like them. But do not give a lot of your time and energy to people who every time you try to make an advancement or you say you're chasing the dream or you're going to install a discipline that makes them uncomfortable, because you know why it makes them uncomfortable? Because they know they won't do it.
Yeah, or they can't, or they just don't have the wherewithal.
They refuse.
Do you get that a lot when you deal with your clients, that they tell you stories of people going, everybody told me not to do this. They told me not to come to you and put money in this situation like this. I mean, do you get that?
Oh, all the time.
Really?
I mean, that's a typical thing for somebody to say about financial advisors, right? The irony of financial advisors is people say, I would never pay a financial advisor, but we know statistically that people who have net worths over $1 million or $2 million 90% of them use financial advisors. See, what you're saying is the person you want to be like, the person with the money, you're not going to do the thing that they do most often.
Right.
And sometimes the client will say, well, my brother-in-law told me I was stupid for using you or paying you. I'm like, yeah, but you have 4 times the money your brother. Why are we listening to this guy?
Bad example.
Didn't he borrow $50 from you last week? Why are we listening to this guy?
Hey, but he went to Harvard or he drove by it.
Yeah, unlikely.
He went by Harvard. So hypothetically speaking, I knock, at Edgewater where you guys are, and I go, "This is all my numbers. This is what's the first thing you would say to me?" I open up my entire book. You see, I'm trying to get free advice right here.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
You see how I did that?
Very clever.
Thinly veiled.
I think you got him. I think you got him shadowed.
I got him right where I want him.
He has no idea.
I'm mesmerized.
But what would you say to somebody like me? I mean, first,
I would say welcome.
welcome.
Come on in.
Wow, is the water
Yeah,
free?
put the beer down.
Okay.
No, I would. I mean, listen. First of all, you have to have an appointment, just so we're clear.
Okay,
All right.
good.
But when you do show up, we would go through your goals. What are you trying to achieve? How much have you accumulated? What would you like to accumulate? What is your income? What are your expenses? I mean, it's a long process, right? Some people. This kind of goes into the second phase of this conversation, which is: are you trying to achieve a return? Or are you trying to achieve success? And the reason people are so caught up in return is because it's tangible. If you look at your statement and you're down 5%, you're like, crap, I'm down 5%. I understand that, right?
Yeah.
But if you call me up and you say, hey, Scott, my account's down 5%, you're an idiot. And I say to you, Ross, look, your success rate based on the studies that we've done and based on the data we put together for your account, tell me you went from 95 to 94% success. Are you really going to be bent out of shape about that, right? You don't understand, you don't have context for success, therefore the return means more to you than it should in any given period.
It's asking what the payment is.
Yeah,
kind of thing, right? Yeah. I completely understand what you're saying. That's very interesting, by the way.
Yeah, it was return versus
Success.
Man, that
Because we were talking beforehand. I said, well, for the people who are uninitiated, and including me at times, I would say, well, they're one and the same. But if I would say, if I'm getting a great return, that is success. And you're like, well, that's not exactly the case all the time because it's just not.
Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say you said, Scott, I'm going to retire tomorrow, and you had $100,000, and you said, I need $20,000 a year in income, and then I earn you 10%. Now, you earn 10%, right? And you say, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's better than the average of the market over 100 years. You'd say, Scott, you're a genius, yes?
Yes.
No, you probably wouldn't say that. But let's say you said that. But the problem is you were unsuccessful because you needed 20%
Right, yeah, gotcha.
to get the 20,000. So there's a situation where the return was good,
Yep.
but you completely failed.
You haven't managed your own expectations.
You
don't even know what you want.
Right. You have to have context. Right. So as I've said many times, most people, I hate to say this, but they're too lazy or too scared to sit down with a yellow pad and say, I make this, I'm this age, I've saved this much money. If I earn 3, 4, 5, 6% a year and I do this and I do that, I should be able to retire with a similar or at least a comfortable income. Most people don't even do that.
They're scared. That's the answer. I would say that's the column most people fall into. They just simply want to stick their head in the sand and not understand. And the other thing, too, is they know when they write it down, Scott, it's going to take sacrifice from the minute they write it down, and it's hard. It's hard. I have this conversation with my kids when I'm like, look, guys, it's hard, all right? It's not easy. It's not easy watching all your friends go out every weekend and having a good time while you sit home and manage your money, but I will promise you, when you're both 35, you will look back and you will think, hey, I made a good decision there. And I still had plenty of fun in my life. I just wasn't going out 4 nights a week.
And you don't need to.
That's the tough thing. When you write it down, Jack and I were talking about this earlier today, the idea of just writing something down. When you write it down, you're making kind of a covenant with yourself.
Yes.
Right? And if you do that, and you know what's going to happen when you write it down, you know that pad's going to tell you, buddy, you got to stop doing this. You got to stop playing golf 4 times a week. You got to stop, you got to sell your car because it's ridiculous. You're driving you know that's coming, and you don't want to know that.
The irony of all your friends going out and drinking in your 20s, and you're like, man, I wish I was doing that, but I got to save money, is that, and when you're 35, they don't remember those nights.
Yeah,
They don't. They're not memorable. They were good for a photo that they're going to look at 10 years from now and go, oh, yeah, we went. Yeah. We went there, rooftop bar.
And the problem is if you continue, and some of those people will do it into their 40s and their 50s and their whatever, and I mean, at some point that gets old, I would hope. And the reality is that if you see that trend, if you look, like if you have a friend, he's 5 years older than you are, and you see, why is that guy still going to the bar? Why is that guy still hanging around people 10 years younger than he is? That's not the guy, right? You need to eliminate some of these people. And like I said, sometimes it's a parent. A lot of people have parents who are, they want your best, but they want their version of your best, and they only understand what they understand.
Do you have radio host on that list of people?
My dad,
by any chance?
My dad was kind of like that. I dealt with my dad like that a little bit. He was, one of those guys who was. It was just like he knew what he wanted, but he really didn't know how to go out and get it. He didn't really have the tools to go out and get it. He just thought hard work would get him there. And I understood that. I took a lot of that from him, the hard work thing. But you also have to be willing to take a chance occasionally or step out of your comfort zone, which he found it too difficult to do that. And sometimes it can be very hard.
No, I say this to my kids all the time. No growth comes from comfort.
Right.
Unless you're willing to make yourself uncomfortable, whether you're working out or whatever it is, if you go into the gym and you walk around and eat a smoothie and go home, that wasn't that uncomfortable now, was it? And the results will show that.
The only growth you're getting from comfort is like a boil or something, from a couch.
All right, it got gross.
Working out is easy. I'm just walking around. So why does who you marry matter? I mean, I know it seems
my gosh.
Well, on the surface, that seems like it would be pretty obvious, right?
Yep.
That who you marry matters.
Yep.
I mean, it seems pretty cut and dry. Is it?
I'm still in love, baby.
It's well, yeah. That's that snuggly feeling goes away eventually, and you have to deal with money. Yes. So the reality is, who you marry is critical to your economic success. The Millionaire Next Door study showed that the people in that study, on average, had been married 35 years. So. First of all, divorce is expensive.
It's very expensive.
So let's keep that in mind. But
I learned that.
Yeah, but more important than that, if your values are not aligned on money, where you kind of agree, because more divorces occur because of financial arguments and problems than any other reason. You would think it's infidelity and all those things. That's a distant second.
Right.
So when people don't get along about money, first of all, it's just bad for your relationship. It causes problems if it's tough to pay the bills, whatever. But if one of you is a spendthrift and the other is a miser, it ain't going to work.
Right.
It's okay to have levels of that, and if I'm being totally honest, in my house, my wife's the miser. I tend to spend more money than she does on things, right? So she kind of keeps me in check. I've lived in the same house in College Park. Everybody's heard the story, for 33 years, right? And I bought it in 1991, and I tried to move 5 or 6 times. She wouldn't let me. Right. You know what? Because the house was paid for. Right. So thankfully she did that. So again, if you are not in line with your spouse on money, I promise you it's going to be a problem going forward. And you need to understand that before you get married.
Let me ask you, though. That's interesting because you're not obviously a marriage counselor. You're not that, right?
I am not.
Okay. But if a couple came in and they said, hey, look, we're looking to do this, would you offer, not counseling, but would you offer a conversation that would basically lead these two people to look at each other and say, hey, look, are we on the same playing field here financially? Is our goal the same? Have you had to do that with people who are investing as a married couple, or is that something you tell one person so they go tell the other, or how do you deal with that?
No, 100% I've done that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I literally have a couch in my office. So I've had spouses sit on opposite ends of the couch and not in agreement about the boat or the whatever, and I have had to play intermediary in that situation. And it's not like I'm saying there's something wrong with you. I'm just saying, well, here's what he's saying, right. In this case. Here's what she's saying. Maybe we ought to think about it this way. And then typically, not always, but typically we come to some kind of agreement. And I have couples that I've had as clients for 30 years, and we joke about their differences now. They know I know, and I know they know.
Right. Now, and somebody texts in really, and I want to get to this other thing as well, but somebody texted in and said, hold on, let me double check here. I got to get my eyes on.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the cost of what you do, right? So somebody's like, well, yeah, you hire a money manager if you have money because, money managers cost money.
Sure.
Well, the whole idea of hiring a money manager, portfolio manager, whatever is that they create a program that creates more income than they're costing you to do your service.
That's the goal, yes.
That is the goal, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to your fee, how is that factored in? How does that work?
Yeah,
and it didn't have to be yours, Scott. When you hire a money manager, you're here with us.
Yep.
But when you talk about this, how do you get beyond that conversation?
Well, I think the largest part of it is, first of all, it's not just money management, it's financial planning, right? There's tax implications, there's emotional. The biggest part I do is babysitting. I tell people I don't manage wealthy people's money. I manage wealthy people, right? Because they do dumb stuff. You think a person who's saved up $1 million or $2 or $5 or $500 grand or whatever it is would be not be prone to big mistakes, but they are. They do emotional things with their money, and when the market's down, they want to freak out and sell at the wrong time, and when the market's up, they want to back up the truck. And these are not things, there's a study that gets done every year done by Dalbar, and it says the average institution has earned 7% a year over, and I'm making up the math, but it's close. They've earned like 7 or 8% a year, and institutions would be like insurance companies and endowments and things like that. And the average person has earned less than 3%. And then you say, well, why is that possible? How is that possible? They have the same stock market, right? They have the same bond market. It's emotion. Institutions don't have emotions. People have emotions. So the biggest job I have is guiding people through difficult times. This is arguably a difficult time. We got a war in Israel. Yeah. We got a war in the Ukraine.
Inflation's high.
We got a presidential election that we all want to hide under the covers from.
Right.
So it's coming. And so my job largely is guiding people. I do manage money. I do buy bonds. I do buy stocks. I do have a team that does that. And hopefully we do it a little better than you would do. But I would say that's not the ultimate value. The ultimate value is the planning. It's understanding, how do I get away from the crabs in the bucket? How do I determine what success is versus worrying all the time about return? Because I got news for everybody listening out there. You're going to have bad years. It's how you react to those bad years, or your advisor leads you through those bad years, that's going to lead to a meaningful income. And I'll give you one quick example. In December of 18, I had 2 clients call me. And I don't know if you remember in 18, but we were down like 15, 16% in December. And one client said, Scott, I can't take it anymore. I got to get out. The whole world's going to end, blah, blah, blah. I said, don't do it. Second client called me. Same thing. World's going to end. I got to get out. One of them listened. One of them didn't. One of them recovered in the next 3 months. One of them still in the same place they were, down 15 or 16%. And and I didn't do anything. I just talked one of them out of it. Yeah. The other one didn't listen.
Yeah. And having somebody to be able to help you do that, I would think, look, if you had somebody like that, just to be able to call, just be able to call, hey, look, I heard this. Is there any truth to that? Or, hey, should we be doing this? Or, hey, am I in this? Or, what's happening here? Just to be able to get that clarity of what's happening with your money, to me, would be a valuable asset in itself.
I mean, you quite frequently a client will call and leave a message with the receptionist or with my assistant and say, hey, tell Scott in no hurry, but I just need to hear his voice and hear him talk me out of whatever dumb thing I'm about to do.
I'm looking at a 40-year-old sailboat, and it looks pretty solid.
Well, it's not even that. It's just the market. Like, if the market's not performing, they'll call me up and say, all right, tell me why it's okay. Right? And then I give them all the historical reasons why it's unlikely the world's going to end and they're going to be chasing squirrels out in the street.
Exactly. And that's exactly what's going to happen.
That's what I get paid to do. And people don't understand, well, why would I pay a fee when I can do this other thing? And first of all, there's fees in everything. So I don't care what you say. Somebody's getting paid to do. Somebody once said to me, well, I use this one mutual fund company and, they don't charge me anything. I'm like, well, the last time I was in Boston, they had a really nice tall building. Somebody's paying for that.
You're getting charged, but you just don't know where.
Yeah, you just don't know how.
Big event coming up for you guys here soon.
Yeah, so we got the big event at the Country Club of Orlando. That's the 5 questions the affluent fail to ask their financial advisor. That's December 15th. And you can RSVP for that at our website at edgewaterfamilywealth.com, edgewaterfamilywealth.com, or you can call 407-648-1881. Again, that's the 15th, and I think it starts at 11 a.m.
And you feed.
We feed them.
That's right.
We feed people.
You feed people. So
if nothing else, you get a nice sandwich out of it.
Scott, I thought you just said December 15th. Is it December or November?
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I retract. November 15th.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Pardon me. If you come on December 15th, you'll be by yourself. November 15th.
But it might be a festive.
I might meet you for lunch on December 15th, but November 15th is actually the event.
And that's EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. Get all the information there. You can drop by Orlando Country Club, 11 o'clock in the morning. They serve lunch. You can learn about a lot of cool stuff that can help you and your financial outlook.
Yeah, I hope so.
Very good. Scott, it's always good seeing you, buddy. Big round of applause for Mr. Scott Brown.
Oh, yeah, baby. Let's ride.
EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com.
Thank you.
Good to see you, buddy.